What's up, y'all? It's Anime K here, and we are back with another video. Now, guys, I promise you guys, I'm not turning into a reaction channel, I promise you, but we're doing another reaction video today, okay? I know I need to review more of the chapter, but I've just been busy. Been so busy, so yeah, we're gonna react into my boy Kamui's video right here. So we're gonna react to him reviewing the chapter, and yeah, we're gonna point out every mistake he makes, right? Any little mistake, anything that happened, anything that's wrong, we're gonna point it out, guys, all right? All right, but let's get into the video. Boom. Damn, man. My boy made a video 34 minutes. God damn. Jesus. Wow. Wow. Okay. Damn. Let's get into it, guys. 34 minutes.
In Chapter 7 of Boruto 2 Vortex called The Whereabouts of the Sun, the long-awaited confrontation between Boruto and Mitsuki finally comes to its end. Now, the chapter starts off with Mitsuki thinking to himself about what the sun means to him, and this is a good example of what's called a narrative mask. Mitsuki is covering up the doubts he feels deep inside his heart in order to protect himself from that harsh reality that hurts him. He is lying to himself. The line to focus on is when Mitsuki says, "You give my life meaning, permission to live and be here. You make me feel that, Kawaki." Now, in light of Chapter 1 and Chapter 6, which probably took place like 10 minutes ago in their time, there's absolutely no way that Kawaki could have made Mitsuki feel like he belongs here when he was getting so annoyed with Mitsuki for following him around and watching him constantly. Even Mitsuki seemed annoyed with Kawaki's annoyance and told him that it is his mission to do so, and if he has a problem with it, he can go complain to Lord 8th again, implying that Kawaki has already complained to Shikamaru about this before. And in Chapter 1, Mitsuki seemed to be just baffled by Kawaki's behavior towards Mitsuki, as Kawaki is supposed to be his shining bright light that gives Mitsuki light, yet Kawaki was not acting like a sun at all.
Yeah, I know a lot of people don't like Mitsuki's sun and moon thing. I think it's either you don't like it or you do like it. Me, I think it's very interesting. I think it's an interesting theme. I don't know how much it will play a part in the story later on, but I think for right now, it's still an interesting theme in the story. I feel like if Onipians ever is to get changed, I feel like Mitsuki will be one of the first characters to get changed. I think it will keep him relevant to the story. Switched him to Boruto's side, personally, but still right now, it's very, very interesting. My opinion, that's my opinion.
That's why he asked the question, "You're the sun, shining brightly upon my moon. Aren't you, Kawaki?" He's asking it as a question because Kawaki isn't doing what the sun is supposed to do, and Mitsuki fully recognizes that. But here in Chapter 7, when he's facing the object of his vendetta, Boruto, Mitsuki pushes those thoughts to the side. He covers up those feelings as if they never even existed, acting as though Kawaki has always been acting like the sun, even though that certainly hasn't been the case. I think this was a very good way to start the chapter. However, I think they missed out on a huge opportunity later in the chapter that would have tied back to the scene very nicely, but I'll get into that later on. From here, the fight begins, and we see that Boruto's shuriken have absolutely no effect on Mitsuki's snakes, so he uses Flying Raijin to escape out of the way, and you can tell that Boruto loves using this jutsu, and I love it when he does. Flying Raijin just cool. Now, we asked where Kawaki is because that's who we expected to come after him, but Shikamaru explains that Mitsuki knocked him out, and Mitsuki says, "I think I understand your power level. It must be way off the charts to make Code retreat," which tells me Kawaki is no match for you right now. I can't let him get himself killed, no matter the cost. And Boruto says, "Don't, Mitsuki. If he doesn't stand a chance against me, neither do you, so this fight is pointless." And Mitsuki says, "There's one other reason why I left Kawaki behind, so I can let loose completely without deferring to him." And Boruto asks, "What do you mean?" And Mitsuki says, "That's between me and him." Now, this is a really weird line, not gonna lie. It might even just be a poor translation, to be honest, because to defer basically means to postpone, to put off to a later date, whereas to defer to someone means to let someone else make the decision. It's basically to hand over responsibility to someone else, usually because they're just better suited to that responsibility. So for example, Itachi deferred to Naruto the responsibility of taking care of Madara, while Naruto deferred to Itachi the responsibility of taking care of Kabuto and the Edo Tensei. So what Mitsuki is implying is that if Kawaki was there, he wouldn't be able to go all out versus Boruto, which could be for one of two reasons. Either Mitsuki thinks that Kawaki would try to do all the fighting by himself because he wants to kill Boruto personally, or he thinks that because Kawaki is supposed to be the son and a really nice guy, he wouldn't want Mitsuki to kill Boruto and he would try to stop him. So either way, Kawaki would just be getting in the way of Mitsuki going all out and fighting Boruto himself.
I guess.
It's hard to say exactly what Mitsuki means, especially...
Yeah, I was just as confused as that statement as he is. I didn't really understand it. But I just didn't look too much into it at all.
With the whole "that's between me and him" line, I'm not fully certain and I'm not going to act like I am. Anyway, the fight continues here. Mitsuki makes snake clones, which are kind of funny because he turns his snakes into Mitsuki clones, where the Mitsuki clones then turn back into snakes, and I'm not really sure what the purpose of doing that was, because he was already able to attack Boruto with snakes with or without turning them into Mitsuki clones, so I don't really know what that was about. Now, something else I thought was kind of funny was when Boruto says, "More is not necessarily better, you know. You're destroying the environment." Which is, it's kind of silly that he's just telling Mitsuki this. It's like, yeah, no, you're fighting each other. But in...
Yeah, when he said that, I was like, yo, he is not taking Mitsuki seriously at all. There's no way you take an opponent seriously and you say that in the middle of a fight. Boruto is on some, he's literally on some Sasuke shit right now. That is literally a line Sasuke would have said to an opponent that he didn't take seriously.
In light of his conversations with Code in Chapter 3, it seems like Boruto just really cares about the environment now. Like, I feel like he never really put this much thought into the planet before, but I guess something happened over the time skip. Maybe it's Kashin Koji's influence, I don't know, but Boruto really cares about the planet now, which is a nice sentiment to have and all. It just feels kind of funny. Just in this world, I don't know. Anyway, Boruto says he doesn't have time to play around, and he quickly destroys all of Mitsuki's snake clones, and Mitsuki comments on Boruto's impressive speed, which is actually really telling because, at least in the anime, Mitsuki's whole thing with Sage Mode is that he's ridiculously fast. That's probably like the biggest thing to notice about Mitsuki's Sage Mode. It's his speed, and he's commenting on how fast Boruto is, and Boruto is just in base here, like honestly speaking. It almost feels like Boruto is like in his Karma 2 form while he's in base. He's just like ridiculously fast and strong now. I'm very curious about like what exactly he did over the time skip. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, well, Boruto is naturally a genius. He's got those Minato genes, those Naruto genes, those Hinata genes, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but like practically everyone in his generation is a genius. Sarada's an Uchiha prodigy. Mitsuki is a prodigy himself. In fact, if you go back to like the Boruto Academy arc, Mitsuki just seemed much stronger than everyone else in his generation. Like, he was clearly the top dog of his class for a very long time. It took quite a while before Boruto actually started to look like he was on Mitsuki's level. And this is true in the Boruto manga as well. If you go back to the Boru fight, the two MVPs for Team 7 were Mitsuki and Sarada. Mitsuki for handling the virus, and Sarada for finding and destroying Boru's core. And then of course you have Boru Shiki for finishing up Boru for good. But in this fight, Mitsuki is the only character to stay in his base the entire time. Boruto and Kawaki use their karma seals the entire fight, and Sarada uses her Sharingan in order to find and destroy Boru's core. Mitsuki does not use his Sage Mode. He stays in his base, yet he's one of the two MVPs of that fight. And then if you go to chapter 58, base Kawaki quickly beats base Sarada, and he quickly beats base Boruto. It's only when Boruto uses his karma seal that he gets the upper hand, and in the anime version this is clear as day. Kawaki was just stomping base Boruto, and then when Boruto used his Karma Seal, he got the upper hand. Meanwhile, the only person base Kawaki didn't beat was base Mitsuki. He had absolutely no problem reacting to Kawaki's off-guard attack, and Kawaki recognized that, and Mitsuki is the only person Kawaki complimented, and so he just moved on and stopped fighting him because he realized that Mitsuki was fine. So base Boruto's genes clearly weren't just carrying him to a level far beyond the rest of his class. Something serious happened over the time skip here.
You know what? It's fine for Boruto to be this strong, but what I'm thinking here is how the hell does the rest of the cast catch up to Boruto? Because from what we've seen from these chapters, right, no one is on Boruto's level at all, right? Mitsuki right now, Boruto's made him look like a child. Code, he's not even in the conversation right now at all. Code is just out the story. I mean, unless Code gets another big power up somehow, I don't know, but Code is just trash, right? And then Kawaki, every time we've seen him, he's nearly got, well, he's been surprised feet. Nearly got surprised feet by Claw Grime, and then Mitsuki put him to sleep. So, I don't know, man. But Boruto's only threat right now is them awakened divine trees.
Now, some people might bring up the
And we've not even seen Boruto use his kamui yet, for whatever reason. Probably because of Momoshiki. He's probably the main reason, right? I'm sure they'll probably tie that to Naruto not wanting to use Kurama and all that, right? But I think that's probably the main reason why we've not seen him use it. But if Boruto is able to use his karma properly, then it just takes him to a whole nother level. Then he might even beat them awakened divine. I don't know.
fact that Mitsuki and Kawaki were in the village and probably doing some missions, whereas Boruto was on the run and he had absolutely nothing to do but train, so maybe that's why he got so much stronger. But I don't know about that, because Mitsuki's drive to get stronger to kill Boruto must have been insanely high. The same goes for Kawaki, and the same thing goes for Naruto and Sasuke over the time skip in Naruto. Naruto and Sasuke both left the village for the specific purpose of training to get significantly stronger than they were, and both of their drives to get stronger were insanely high. Naruto desperately wanted to bring Sasuke back to the village to fulfill his promise to Sakura and to save his friend. He also needed to train to get way stronger so that he could protect himself from the Akatsuki, who are these Kage level threats. Sasuke, on the other hand, was training to achieve his life goal of killing Itachi. Both of their drives to train were insanely high. However, as we saw very clearly in the Tenchi Bridge arc, Sasuke got way ahead of Naruto base to base over the time skip. It was night and day. Sasuke was just way stronger. The only time Naruto could compete with Sasuke was when he was in Four Tails mode, which wasn't really Naruto's power at the time, but instead just Kurama taking over and going wild. Now, as for why Sasuke got so much stronger than his teammates, there's a couple of reasons for that. As pointed out directly in the series, Sakura says that Sasuke's rate of maturation isn't ordinary, and according to Lady Tsunade, it's possible that they're augmenting his training with drugs and forbidden jutsu courtesy of Kabuto. In addition, you could also argue that because Sasuke had mastered the basics far better than Naruto did, having better chakra control and already possessing 2 changes in chakra nature, Orochimaru could skip to higher levels of training than Jiraiya could with Naruto. For example, because Sasuke already knows how to do Chidori, Orochimaru can skip to Chidori variations with Sasuke, taking the Chidori to a higher level. By contrast, Naruto wasn't very good at a lot of the basics, so Jiraiya had to focus on training Naruto in those areas so that Naruto could then flourish later on. That's why Naruto basically just has basic training over the time skip, but then with Kakashi he learns change in chakra nature, and we see just how busted Naruto can become when he adds change in chakra nature to his already existing jutsu. But if Naruto tried to skip to that point, it just wouldn't work. He wouldn't be able to do it. He had to master the basics first. As it was, Naruto's biggest thing was just his raw power and stamina. That's what got him to where he was. Obviously, learning the Rasengan was a big skill feat, but beyond that, his insane number of shadow clones and Kurama's power was just a power and stamina feat that carried Naruto. He really needed to become more skilled overall if he was going to become really strong later on. And comparing Boruto to Mitsuki and Sarada, I really don't think Boruto's skill was like astronomically better than Mitsuki's was. So I really want to know what exactly he did over the time skip to become so ridiculous, because again, this is base Boruto. It's not Karma 2 Boruto that's stomping everyone, it's base Boruto that's this way beyond Jigen level person. That's an insane jump of power. It's ridiculous. I want to know what he did. Getting back to the chapter though, Mitsuki and Boruto have a cool...
I don't know, I feel like the karma, I feel like him being full Otosuki just kind of maybe makes him improve faster than the average person. I don't know. Because he's right. What else could it really be? Because obviously he trained hard, he's a prodigy, all that could have helped as well. He's right about Mitsuki being strong in the first half, but maybe it's just because he's full Otosuki, that's why he was able to get so strong so quickly. I don't know, it's the only thing I can really think of. We'll have to wait to see how strong Kawaki is, but I don't know. That is a tough question. Maybe Sasuke is just the goated teacher. Maybe we just give Sasuke credit. Sasuke created this monster. Sorry, guys.
Well, Snake Lightning versus Thunderbolt clash, where Boruto then swoops in and brings a sword to Mitsuki's neck. Mitsuki undoes his Sage transformation and he says, Go ahead, get it over with. And Boruto says, you think you came prepared to die, when in fact, it's that you've lost hope. You're feeling desperate. It's cause your faith has been shaken. What you believe, or rather, what you want to believe in, you can no longer trust. Kawaki, the sun that had been illuminating you, lost its radiance at some point. Isn't that what you feel? Mitsuki pushes back though, saying, you don't know a thing, Boruto. You're a grudge-bearing traitor. Stop pretending to know me. And Boruto says, but you see, I do know the current whereabouts of your son. At the very least, I'm your son. It's that simple.
I am your father.
Mitsuki then spawns a snake that wraps around Boruto and goes to bite.
Oh my. Yeah, I was. Why did I think of that scene? When I first read this chapter, right, I literally thought of that scene in my head. Let me continue, guys. That scene right there is, I don't know why I find that Star Wars scene so funny. He should have played Luke's reaction where he's like, no!
Bite him and he says, how dare you? You're my son, you have some nerve. But Boruto says, and yet, why hasn't this snake attacked me yet? Mitsuki then asks, why haven't you gotten loose? You could have a few different ways. The real reason is because Boruto knows the snake would attack him, and he says, I bet you realized quite a while back that he's not it, that Kawaki's not your son. No matter how close you stick to him, he refuses to illuminate you. And Mitsuki says, it can't be. That's not possible. He's in denial here. He refuses to believe it, even though deep down, he believes exactly what Boruto is telling him. Boruto continues to say, it's natural to feel confused, yet you know it's true, for you're the only one who gets to decide what it takes to be your son. Mitsuki then releases the snake and he asks, who the hell are you? And Boruto says, don't worry, I have no intention of killing Kawaki. That's a misunderstanding, though I do need to settle things with him at some point, but that's between us bros, just the two of us. Mitsuki asks, why did you kill Lord Seventh? And Boruto says, Lord Seventh is alive and safe, and Shikamaru seemingly has no reaction to this, which to me indicates that Shikamaru has had this feeling the entire time. We know that he's been holding out on taking the title of 8th Hokage for some reason. He seems to be holding out for something. I get the feeling that Shikamaru's had this gut feeling that Naruto isn't actually dead this entire time, as I think he should, because if you go back to chapter 78, Ada literally told everyone that Kawaki swallowed Naruto and Hinata up in some dark vortex-like thing. They've all seen what that dark vortex is. It's space-time ninjutsu. Kawaki and Boruto did it together in front of Shikamaru, Sarada, and Mitsuki. They've all seen it before. They should think that it means that Naruto was sent to another dimension. They wouldn't necessarily know that it's Daikoku 10 specifically, but the whole vortex thing should ring a bell. So I don't think Shikamaru should have ever fully believed that Naruto is actually dead based on what Ada had already told him previously. And the lie that Naruto is dead is not something they would be forced to believe because of Omnipotence, because it is a lie Kawaki manufactured after Omnipotence had already been cast. It's not part of the role reversal, it's something Kawaki did after the fact. So Shikamaru having doubts that Naruto was ever actually dead makes perfect sense, so his reaction here doesn't surprise me. Anyway though, Boruto continues to say, my ma, his wife too. That's all I can say right now. So finally, somebody acknowledged the fact that Hinata was sealed away too. Finally, this whole time everyone's just been Naruto this, Naruto that. Nobody cared about Hinata.
Oh my, bro. I literally said the same thing in my video about Omnipotence. Oh my god. Because, right, everyone is like, yo, Naruto's gone. Why did you kill Naruto? Where's Naruto at? I'm like, damn, even Himawari, yo, I feel like my father's still alive. What about your mom? You have a mother. At this point, if you do unseal them, I feel sorry for Hinata because she's not going to play a role in the story at all. Because goddamn, they won't even acknowledge her while she's gone. They won't even give her her flowers.
Thank God Boruto does. He then continues to say, Mitsuki, I believe you're perfectly capable of shining on your own. But if you insist on needing a son, come find me anytime. Now overall, I do like this interaction between Boruto and Mitsuki, but like I said at the beginning of the video, I think they missed out on a huge opportunity. As I mentioned, The beginning of the chapter displayed Mitsuki's narrative mask. He was lying to himself and covering up the feelings he felt deep in his heart. He knew that Kawaki wasn't shining upon him and instead was bringing him down, and he questioned Kawaki's identity as the son on more than one occasion. However, he refused to accept that. He insisted that Kawaki had to be his son, even though deep down he knew that Kawaki never was. Now, where I think they missed out on a huge opportunity is on pages 27 and 28. I think it would have been insanely good and way more impactful if we had gotten some glimpse inside Mitsuki's mind. After Boruto says, no matter how close you stick to him, he refuses to eliminate you, I think it would have been really good if we had gotten a panel of Mitsuki imagining Kawaki smiling and waving to him with the sun in the background, followed by a panel of Kawaki with a very serious expression and a shadow cast over him, showing how Mitsuki wants to believe that Kawaki is his son, but deep down, Mitsuki knows that Kawaki is just a dark shadow in his life. You could even take it a step further and add some dialogue, where in the sun image Kawaki says, "Hey Mitsuki," but then in the shadow image Kawaki says, "Stop following me around," or something along those lines. That would have done wonders in my opinion. And then in the next scene after Boruto says, "For you're the only one who gets to decide what it takes to be your son," I think it would have been really good if we had gotten a panel of Mitsuki imagining himself and Kawaki smiling together, followed by a panel of Mitsuki imagining himself and Boruto smiling together, indicating that Mitsuki wants to believe that Kawaki is his son, but in reality, deep down he feels and knows that Boruto is actually his son. I think this would have done an insanely good job at displaying the internal conflict that Mitsuki is feeling and the way he's confronting his narrative mask and his true self.
You know what, yeah, I can agree to that. I think that would have been a great addition, definitely. I never thought of that. I think that would be a great addition. But overall, I think that moment between the two of them was very special. I like that moment. It gave me, like I said on the video, I think, did I say that on the video? I think I said anyway, it gave me like Naruto vibes where it was like a very feel-good moment between the two. Hopefully, will it change Mitsuki's mind? I don't know. I would love to see it. Definitely a moment where they actually come back together and he realizes who Boruto actually is. I would love to see that, but I still think it was a great moment between the two though. That's what I was trying to say.
At the beginning of the chapter, he really wants to believe that Kawaki is son, despite all the signs we had gotten previously that he had his doubts about Kawaki. And so here in this moment, it would have been really good to show Mitsuki confronting that reality. Now to compare this with some other scenes, back in chapter 79 when Kawaki has his monologue about Boruto and Naruto and stuff, there's a really good panel where Kawaki thinks about his brother Boruto, but then thinks about Borushiki. What Kawaki wants to see is his brother Boruto, but all he can see is Momoshiki. We could have gotten some really similar panels here. As another example, there's the scene of when Naruto is doing the tug of war with Obito, and Obito starts to think about himself as Hokage. Obito wanted to believe that he didn't care about this world, that he didn't care about the past, that he didn't care about his goals, but the truth was, he still did. He still wanted to become Hokage. He was still Obito, no matter how much he tried to put on a mask and cover up that fact. No matter how much he tried to be Madara, no matter how much he tried to be no one, deep down, he was still Obito Uchiha. And you see and feel that with those internal thoughts. As another example, during the Konoha Crush arc, there are numerous scenes where Gaara is reminded of his past with Yashimaru, such as when Sakura tries to protect Sasuke and he thinks of the time when Yashimaru protected some civilians. When Gaara saw Sasuke, Sakura, and especially Naruto trying to protect their friends, he was deeply reminded of his past when he was hurt by love. We saw how Gaara was hated by the village and the only person who cared for Gaara was Yashimaru. But then Gaara was betrayed by that love he felt when Yashimaru lied and said that he always hated Gaara, and even his mother always hated Gaara. That's why Gaara decided to love no one but himself, because he was hurt by his love for others in the past. But seeing Naruto forced Gaara to confront his past, and we saw the internal conflict it caused Gaara. It was really good, and I really think they could have done some similar stuff here with Mitsuki. That's a really big missed opportunity, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Kawaki then wakes up.
You know what, yeah? You know what? When you explain it like that, yeah, I feel like that definitely would have added more to that scene. You never know, though. We could get it in the next chapter. Maybe Mitsuki thinking about all this stuff, so we could still get it. So what you're saying now, I still hold out hope for that. It could still happen.
Up and asks where the hell is that bastard Mitsuki, which makes me wonder if we'll actually get that Mitsuki and Kawaki confrontation in battle that I wanted to see.
Bro, I thought that as well when I seen that. Yeah, I was like, will they fight? But I don't think so, because yeah, he did put him to sleep, but if you go ahead and then fight him, would it not make people a little bit suspicious? Like, because knowing your relationship, because you're meant to have the same relationship with him like you had with Boruto, so would Boruto go and attack Mitsuki? That would just further the argument of maybe he's not actually Kawaki Uzumaki. I feel like that might further it. I don't know.
For so many years.
Thought we
I
have
really
character.
hope it actually does happen, especially in light of the recent chapters. Now we then get a little more info about Omnipotence as Boruto talks to Shikamaru.
But we do need a Kawaki fight of some sorts, because right now we need to gauge his power level, because we need to see if he's actually close to the same level as Boruto, because right now Boruto's not even had to use his karma and he's just whooping characters' asses, right? Whereas Kawaki had to use his full karma, his full blast just to kill a claw grime. So
Shikamaru says, so in summary, thanks to Ada's Shinjutsu Omnipotence, our memories have all been rewritten to reflect what Kawaki desires. Now, as a small pause side note, I found it interesting that they said Ada's Shinjitsu Omnipotence instead of Ada's Shinjutsu Omnipotence. This is the official, so I'm not sure if that's a typo or not, but I'm assuming it is a typo since that's the first time that's happened. But anyway, Boruto says, yeah, just so you know, don't bother trying to figure out how Omnipotence actually works. You'll soon forget it anyway. In fact, this is far from the first time you're hearing about it. Sarada and class rep have already told you numerous times. The very concept of Omnipotence won't stick in your memory, ever. It fades away over time. That's part of its power. So I need you to trust that Kawaki and I switch places without any proof. Now this scene obviously has some serious ramifications to it, and it does some good for Shikamaru's character and helps display his intelligence, but it seems like every time they add something new with Omnipotence, they create a problem somewhere else. I'm gonna make a whole video dedicated to this, but briefly speaking, the latest chapters have created a bunch of contradictions. In the first 5 chapters, Sarada and Sumire made it clear that it didn't matter what they told Shikamaru and what physical evidence they showed Shikamaru, because Omnipotence erased any doubts he had about his memories. But then in chapter 6, Shikamaru figures out the truth just by considering the possibility that his memories were altered after hearing Amato bring it up. And in chapter 7, Boruto says that Sarada and Sumire have already explained Omnipotence to Shikamaru numerous times, but Omnipotence erased his memory of the concept of Omnipotence, so he kept forgetting. This means that Shikamaru should have been able to figure out the truth numerous times the same way he did in chapter 6, but that contradicts everything Sarada and Sumire said in the first 5 chapters. The whole reason they were so alarmed by Amato's conclusion in chapter 5 is because nobody else was able to doubt their memories. If Shikamaru had gone through this process numerous times, then what Amato did wouldn't be so alarming. If Omnipotence erases any doubts you have about your memories, even when presented with pretty much definitive proof, Shikamaru shouldn't be able to believe that Boruto and Kawaki switch places right now. But he obviously does, as we can see very clearly, so that begs the question of why Shikamaru didn't believe Sarada and Sumire before. Boruto didn't say that Omnipotence erases their memory of any physical evidence they witness. We know that's not the case because nobody was surprised to see Kawaki use Sukuna Hikona on Coat's claw marks or his ninja tech on the claw grime. Boruto only said it erases their memories of the concept of Omnipotence. But you don't need knowledge on Omnipotence to believe that Boruto and Kawaki switch places. Shikamaru literally did it before he was told about Omnipotence, and Boruto wants him to continue to do it after he forgets about Omnipotence. If Shikamaru is able to do this now, then he should have been able to do this the first time Sarada and Sumire convinced him.
yeah, and another thing, right? In chapter 1, right? I did talk about this. Wow. Sorry, guys, my voice is going. I did talk about this in chapter 1, but what I did say is that, well, in my other video, I did say in chapter 1, the only thing she talks about is she talks about that Boruto is innocent. She doesn't actually talk about omniscience, while saying, I've tried to explain this to you numerous times. So I'm happy he mentioned this. He's probably the only other YouTuber I've seen mention this, really, because it's like no one can see just how much this jutsu is just poorly explained. Like, But what I said is, I think they need to get an Otosuki to come down and explain the ability properly. And I think they should write it off as no one actually knows how it works, because I think that's the only way you save the kind of mumbo jumbo that's been explained about this jutsu, because I think no one actually knows how it works personally. I think no one knows. And I think someone like maybe Momoshiki, or I'm sure more Otosukis will turn up eventually. One of them needs to explain how this ability actually works. Because it's just frustrating at this point.
As we clearly see in the first 5 chapters, that definitely didn't happen. If the problem was just that Shikamaru kept forgetting the truth after Sarada explained it to him, then her conversation with Shikamaru in chapter 1 would have gone very differently. She wouldn't have been so frustrated about the fact that Shikamaru didn't believe her. She would have just explained omnipotence like usual, and Shikamaru would have believed her. From her perspective, it would just be another day of reminding Shikamaru about omnipotence. It's inconsistent. Like I said, I'll make a whole video breaking this down even further. Moving on though, Boruto compliments Shikamaru for figuring out the truth on his own and explains that it can't be reversed because those altered memories are all real to them. But more importantly, even if they could reverse it, it wouldn't resolve the issues between Boruto and Kawaki. Kawaki sealed Naruto away in order to protect him, so there's no point unless he's satisfied and undoes it himself. Otherwise, he's just bound to do it again. Shikamaru then says, "If I were you, I'd be thinking about rescuing Naruto and killing Kawaki." But Boruto gives a very Naruto-like response, saying, "He may want to kill me, but I don't feel the same. I just want to slug him, and then make up. That's all." Now I like Boruto's response as it is very Naruto-like and it fits right in line with what Boruto said at the end of chapter 80. Boruto wants to become strong enough to end this brother-killing brother situation and instead turn it into a mere quarrel between siblings, much like Naruto wanted to do with Sasuke. Now another thing I find kind of weird about this chapter is how in chapter 6, Boruto seemed really reluctant to tell Shikamaru the truth seemingly in order to protect Kawaki from being persecuted again, and he also cut himself off when he was about to mention saving someone else to Sarada and Sumire, presumably either Naruto and Hinata or Kawaki. Why was Boruto so reluctant to just answer Shikamaru in chapter 6? Why was he being so oddly aggressive towards him? He seemed totally cool with giving Shikamaru the whole spiel in this chapter. In fact, Shikamaru was gonna forget half of it anyway, so why was he so reluctant in the previous chapter?
Yeah.
Why did he stall so much instead of just answering Shikamaru's question? Furthermore, he was totally cool with telling Mitsuki, Shikamaru, and Ino that Naruto and Hinata are actually still alive in this chapter, so why did he cut himself off before presumably telling Sarada and Sumire the same thing? Why does he want to hide that info from Sarada and Sumire? Shouldn't that give them a tremendous sense of relief that Naruto was still alive? Especially for Sarada, who idolizes Naruto. It shouldn't make Sarada hate Kawaki more or anything like that. As it is, Sarada believes that Naruto is actually dead and that Boruto is framed for it, and in chapter 78, Ada told Sarada and everyone else that Kawaki sucked Naruto and Hinata up into some black vortex-like thing. So right now, Sarada should think that Kawaki actually killed Naruto. If she was gonna hate Kawaki to death, she should already be at that point. If she finds out that Kawaki actually kept Naruto alive and is just trying to protect him, that would probably make her hate Kawaki even less, not more. So I'm not sure why Boruto didn't just tell Sarada and Sumire that Naruto and Hinata were still alive. It's kinda like how Boruto wouldn't look Sarada in the eyes in chapter 1, presumably because he felt guilty about Sasuke turning into a tree, but then he was totally chill around Sarada in chapter 6 and told her that Sasuke became a tree. So why didn't he look Sarada in the eyes in chapter 1? It just feels weird to me. But anyway, Shikamaru goes on to say, "Alright,
maybe because he just needed time. I mean, if you think about it, it's the first time he'd seen Sarada in 3 years, right? Maybe he just needed a bit of time to explain it. I mean, if you look when they first meet, they're a bit awkward anyway around each other. So I kind of would just say, I think he was just really awkward and really needed to kind of get it out. And I think once he started explaining it, he just explained it to her. You remember, she's a shinobi, she can handle it, which she does handle it well. You know, she looks obviously worried for her dad, but she handles it very calmly, right? But I think at the start, you know, he'd not seen her in like 3 years, so for him to just be like, oh, well, Sasuke's gone. And I think another thing as well, maybe he didn't want Code to know that Sarada was on his side. Maybe, I don't know. No, that last part, probably not. But I think the first half of him seeing Sarada, first time he's seen her in 3 years, he probably thought, you know what? I don't know if I can say this, man. And then once he starts talking, he just gets it out there. I think that's what I put it to. But his interaction with Shikamaru, right about that. I kind of just put it to maybe you didn't trust Shikamaru at the start. But then again, though, if you think about it, the moments between these chapters, what you have to remember is there's like probably 5 to 10 minutes between these chapters. So was his mind changed in like 10 minutes?
I hear you.
I don't know.
But Boruto, if you have no intent to kill Kawaki, you need to understand that you'll have to continue taking false blame regarding Naruto. Seeing as Omnipotence's effect lies with Kawaki, I'd like to avoid making you feel cornered again, which means not exposing what he did quite yet. So you'll need to stay a fugitive. You okay with that? And Boruto says, yeah, that's fine. I wasn't expecting otherwise. Which I think is a very fitting response from Boruto because I never thought he was expecting otherwise either. Now something to note here is that Shikamaru says, seeing as Omnipotence's effect lies with Kawaki. He's attributing its effect to Kawaki. Something that's been pretty vague for a while now is whether or not this Omnipotence's effect here was directly because of Kawaki, or if it was because of Ada's desire to help Kawaki based off of everything Kawaki just said moments earlier. On one hand, this chapter implies that it was the former, and perhaps when Kawaki was physically touching Ada, he essentially borrowed her Omnipotence's power, much like how with Damon, if you touch Damon, you get to borrow his reflection power. But on the other hand, it would have made perfectly good sense if it was just Ada's
Yeah, but Damon's was more like Code put Damon in front of, like, put him in front of the blast more than borrowing it, but
desire to help Kawaki that caused this situation, because that's exactly what Ada says in chapter 80 for one thing, and second of all, Kawaki desired for everyone to believe that Naruto was dead, but that didn't manifest in Omnipotence. It's something he told after the fact. If it was Kawaki's desire, I feel like that would have just been part of the Omnipotence's effect. Everyone would just think that Naruto was dead because of Boruto by default of Omnipotence. He would have to tell it after the fact. But if it was Ada's desire, well, that's not something she ever intended to have happen. In fact, she didn't even like it when Kawaki lied, so it would make sense that nobody thought Naruto was dead because that's not something Ada desired. I also just think it could work a lot better story-wise and character-wise for Ada if it is based off of her desires here rather than Kawaki's. I'm not saying that is the case, I'm just saying that I think it would be better if it was based off of Ada's desire to help Kawaki rather than just directly Kawaki's desire. But anyway,
makes more sense.
The chapter ends with a nice little scene with Jura, which I was really happy to see. Jura says, "It's curious, this world. The more knowledge I acquire, the more questions arise, and the more things I don't know. If anything, the knowledge reveals my ignorance. It's fascinating. By the way, it's been gradually occurring to me that none of the books here seem to hold the answers to my questions. So let's pay a visit to Naruto Uzumaki." Now, something a little bit funny here is I'm wondering, where do these books come from? Like, did he just go to the library? Like, this goofy alien tree-like dude just waltz into a library and buy some books? It's funny to imagine. Or were these books just conveniently already in this dimension wherever the heck they are? I'm curious. I want to know where these books came from. But anyway, come
on, bro, he's a freaking alien. You can get them books from anywhere, man. Probably went to like another dimension or something, man.
Jura is on his way
freaking
to
alien,
go
man.
fight Naruto. Some people thought that this wasn't going to happen for a while, but personally, I did think it was going to happen in this arc here for a couple of reasons. The first 4.5 chapters of part 2 are essentially the prologue of Two Blue Vortex, basically the story of the Divine Trees being awakened because of Code. Then we start the first true arc of part 2, which mostly seems to be the story of Boruto regaining favor with the Leaf Village, or alternatively, the story of Kawaki losing favor with the Leaf Village. The reason why I say that is because this arc starts off with the Divine Trees all selecting their targets. Most importantly, Jura chooses the target of Naruto Uzumaki. Then Sumire has her conversation with Amado, where Amado makes the conclusion that his memories must have been altered, and it's because Shikamaru overheard that conversation that in chapter 6, he makes the conclusion that Boruto and Kawaki must have switched places. And in that same chapter, Damon makes a very important observation, that because these Clawgrime Divine Tree people are going to chase after Naruto, won't that expose the lie Kawaki made? And in chapter 7, Boruto confirms to Mitsuki, Ino, and Shikamaru that Naruto is in fact still alive as well as Hinata. Kawaki simply sealed them away in order to protect them. However, it does not appear that Shikamaru plans to just tell the entire village that Kawaki lied about this because he doesn't want to make Kawaki feel cornered. However, Jura is on his way to go find Naruto. If he comes into the Leaf Village looking for Naruto, or he summons Naruto out and everyone sees him in the Leaf Village, it's going to expose the lie Kawaki made, just like Damon said.
Yeah.
Boruto and Shikamaru didn't intend for that to happen, but Jura is going to do it. And because of that, people are going to know that Kawaki lied, and they're not going to like the fact that Kawaki lied and accused Boruto of a crime he didn't commit. That's going to put Kawaki in a bad position, which is exactly what Shikamaru wanted to avoid. He can thank Jura for that. It's also going to make Boruto look better because everyone's going to know that Boruto didn't actually kill Naruto, since they'll either see Naruto alive in person or see Jura trying to find Naruto so he can devour him. Either way, it's going to make Boruto look better while simultaneously making Kawaki look worse. Like I said, this arc seems to be the story of Boruto regaining favor with the leader.
Well, if you take it back to the first kind of message at the start where Boruto's like, was this the only possible outcome, Kawaki? You can kind of see where they're starting to get to that very moment right now.
Leaf Village, or alternatively, the story of Kawaki losing his favor with the Leaf Village. I'm definitely very excited to see what happens with these Divine Tree people moving forward, as all of them are going to wind up going to the Leaf Village here because Jura's targets Naruto, so if he goes through Kawaki, well, Kawaki's in the Leaf Village. Masuri's target is Konohamaru, who's also in the Leaf Village, and Hidari's target is Sarada, who's also in the Leaf Village. So we'll probably get confrontations with all of these people moving forward in the near future.
Hey, don't forget about Ada as well. Ada, one of the bug guy, he's chasing Ada as well. Let's hope he gets her.
I'm very hyped for it. Overall, I enjoyed this chapter, mostly because of the Divine Tree people.
But we could finally see Daemon's power, because that's Daemon and Kawaki are two characters right now. I really want to see where they're at right now. And I feel like, look, Daemon's going to protect his sister. So how will Daemon do against these Shinju clones? Because we don't know how strong he is. We know he's strong, right? We know he's freaking strong, right? We know that. But how far does this power extend to?
Stuff at the end just because I know what's coming and I'm hyped for it.
Let's hope not too strong, because I want Bug to get Ada.
As for everything else, the Mitsuki stuff I thought was okay, but I do think that they missed some big opportunities with some just very small additions with the paneling. The little images in Mitsuki's mind are not hard, they don't take up that much space, but it would have left a much bigger impact in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
And I also think that if Mitsuki had actually fought Boruto in part 1 and beaten base Boruto, then this fight would have had more impact than it did because they never actually fought in part 1, but that's a topic for another day, for another video that I'm working on.
And another thing as well, with Mitsuki fighting Boruto, right, the problem with this fight that I had is I would have preferred to see Snake Sage mode maybe against a different opponent first, because I was expecting, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people were expecting Snake Sage mode to be really, really powerful, especially after the timescape. We were expecting Mitsuki to be really strong. He wants to kill Boruto. But I felt this fight, it was a bit underwhelming in that sense. Is I feel like maybe we could have got Snake Sage mode against a different opponent that's not Boruto, someone who's just been kicking every single character's ass recently. But I don't know. I feel like the hype maybe for Snake Sage mode has kind of died down a bit now, personally. I feel like you had a good thing there, and I feel like Boruto, man, he's got that shovel, man, you know? You ever watch WWE where they say, you know, a person's got that shovel where basically they bury someone. So basically, I don't know, the popular guy kind of buries the rest of the characters, making the rest of the characters look weak. It's kind of what we're getting with Boruto now. I don't know, my personal opinion.
Right now. And then as for the
I think you have to be careful with that.
Yeah, that's just a rant I have. I'm going to work on that video soon here because...
If you thought, sorry to keep pausing, but if you thought Shippuden was bad with the characters, with the side characters, you thought that was bad, Two Blue Vortex is looking like it's going to be Boruto, Kawaki, and the Divine Trees. It's looking like the list will be very shorter and a lot of characters will get less screen time, i.e. Sarada, who right now, her MS abilities is the one thing that's keeping me hopeful that she'll still play a big part in the story.
It's just one big contradiction. I don't get why they're doing the stuff they're doing. It was fine the way it was, where it just erased their doubts. I don't know what they're doing now because it's weird, it's inconsistent. I'm not the happiest about that.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is what I think holds Boruto back. But I want to hear what you guys think. How did you feel about this chapter? How did you feel about the Boruto and Mitsuki fight? How did you feel about the whole sun and moon thing with Mitsuki? Do you think that it could have been done a little bit better like I do, or do you think it was perfectly fine? How do you feel about the omnipotence stuff? I'm not sure if you're going to be on the same wavelength as me there, since I pretty briefly explained it, but did you notice the contradictions too? And lastly, how hyped are you for the Claw Grime Divine Tree People invasion that hopefully will be coming soon?
So, if you guys did make it to the end of this long reaction video, thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Great. Go subscribe to Kamui, right? Great videos. And guys, if you like these reaction videos, subscribe to my channel. Come back for more. Come back for normal videos as well. Like I said, I have been busy, so I've not been able to review the manga quite as much, but I will get that done eventually for you guys. But look, it's been Anime K. Thank you for watching, listening, or however you choose to indulge my content. Peace. I'm out.